Hi, everybody. Michael P. Spradlin back with Chapter 32 of The Enemy Above. We are moving along pretty quickly. Actually, I'm going to do Chapter 32 and 33 today, and then we will have the epilogue, and then we'll be moving on to another book. So I'm going to jump right in to The Enemy Above, Chapters 32 and 33. In the end, it had been easy. The Juden thought they were so clever. Carl was surprised no one had thought of it before. The intelligence report had led him to a small village to the north. He had interrogated the informant who knew which of the town's residents was trading with the Juden. Maxim Shevchenko. It had not taken much to find out where this man lived and drive the short distance to his house. No matter that it was the wee hours of the morning, no matter he had been demoted, he was still a captain of the Gestapo, which Shevchenko would do well to respect. As soon as the peasant walked out onto the porch, von Dusen could sense his fear. Shevchenko wore a straw hat, which he removed and worked nervously in his hands. His wife followed him, and though Shevchenko tried to order her back inside, she refused and clutched at his arm. "Guten Tag, Herr Shevchenko," said von Dusen, called out. "Good day." He would not do them the courtesy of speaking Ukrainian. The man and his wife nodded, but did not reply. "I am looking for 2 men. I understand you trade with them." "Nein," the man shook his head. "Are you certain? I have this information on very good authority." "Nein, mein Kapitan," the man said. "I know of no such men." Von Dusen sighed. It was nearly dawn. Inside the house, he could see the warm glow from a lantern. He had probably interrupted their breakfast. "Are you certain, Herr Shevchenko?" "Ja," the man said. Von Dusen pulled a Luger from his belt. He pointed it at Shevchenko's wife and shot her in the thigh. She fell to the ground, her scream so high-pitched and agonizing that it was actually painful to Von Dusen's ears. Shevchenko dropped to his knees, his hands pressing on her thigh to try and stop the bleeding. He cursed the captain as the woman continued her keening wail. The noise was giving Von Dusen a headache. "Tell her to be quiet, or I will shoot her again," he said calmly. The man sobbed as he spoke quietly to his wife, who tried valiantly to silence herself. "Now, the men. Where do they come from? They want supplies for more than 2 people. Where are they hiding?" "Mein Kapitan," the man pleaded. "I do not know. Please, please." Von Dusen shot the wife in the right elbow. She screamed again, and to Von Dusen's relief, she passed out, her blood pouring out of her and staining the porch. Shevchenko begged Von Dusen for mercy. "If you do not tell me what I want to know, the next shot will be between her eyes." Shevchenko was breathing so heavily he could barely speak. No, please, mein Kapitan. I will tell you what you need, what I know. I have heard rumors only. The men, they bring scrap metal, which I can sell. They say nothing about where they come from or where they find the scrap. They trade and then they leave." Von Dusen raised the Luger, pointing it at the woman's face. "Say your goodbyes. I will kill your wife, but I will leave you alive to mourn and to remind you how stupid you are. Your wife will die because you choose to protect a group of Jewish dogs instead of her." "No, mein Kapitan," Shevchenko pleaded. He put himself between the gun and his wife. "I do not know for certain. As I said, I have heard rumors. There is a place called the Priest Grotto. It is not far from here. There is a large cave. I have heard that the Jews hide there. Only the men come out, and only at night." Von Dusen lowered the Luger to his side and returned it to his holster. He pulled the map from inside his uniform jacket and spread it open on the hood of his truck. "Show me where it is." From there, it had been so simple. Von Dusen had gone to the Priest Grotto, and he had found exactly what he was looking for. Chapter 33. "Anton," Dmitri whispered, "we must slow down. We don't know what is happening. If it is the Gestapo, we must be careful." Anton knew Dmitri was right, but he had a horrible feeling that their hiding place had been discovered. Images of Rena and David gunned down like animals flew through his mind. He could not calm himself. His uncle finally grabbed him by the shoulder and jerked him to a stop. "Anton," Dmitri said harshly, "listen to me. We must be quiet. If the Gestapo has found the cave, we will need to make sure we are not seen." Anton was finally able to calm himself. He knew his uncle was right. Anton and Dmitri crept out of the forest quietly, but kept themselves hidden in the underbrush. The sun was clearing the eastern horizon. In the morning light, they could see all the residents of the cave standing out just outside the entrance. And there in front of them, Buba trembled on her knees. And a familiar face hovered behind hers, the young Gestapo officer who had already taken her prisoner once. He held his pistol at her temple. Her eyebrow was cut and bleeding. He must have knocked her to the ground, and now the look on his face said that this was only the beginning. Herman and Sergei tried to intervene, but the German forced them back by pointing his gun. "Buba!" Anton cried. He burst from the underbrush and ran toward his grandmother. "No, Anton!" he heard Dmitri and Buba shout at the same time. Their voices sounded low and far away against the thumping sound of Anton's heart beating in his ears. Recognition burned in the Nazi's eyes. "You," he shouted. "At last I have found you, you little Jewish pig. Now you die." He swung the pistol around and took aim at Anton just as Buba leapt from the ground. She threw herself between Anton and her tormentor as he pulled the trigger. The explosion sounded like a thundercat. The bullet ripped into her torso and she fell forward on the man who had shot her. He struggled to shove the old woman aside, and when he finally succeeded, he took aim at Anton once again. There were 10 meters between them. Anton ran toward the officer as fast as he could. At the last second, he closed his eyes, certain he was about to die. And in that moment, he began to pray. If this was God's plan, as his uncle Dmitri had told him, so be it. Without Buba, he had nothing. His only chance was to get the German before he got a shot off. He would kill the man with his bare hands. He realized he was too late the instant he heard the boom of a single gunshot. Anton waited for the bullet to rend his flesh, but nothing happened. He felt no pain. Perhaps this is how one died. When he opened his eyes, he could not fathom what he was seeing. The officer's body lay next to Buba on the ground. He had been shot through the head. But Anton's grandmother was still breathing. He ran to her side and dropped to his knees. "Buba, Buba," he shouted, taking her by the shoulders. "Someone help her," he pleaded to his friends and neighbors. They looked at him, then looked away. He felt Uncle Dmitri's hand on his shoulder. Buba had been shot in the stomach. Blood soaked her dress. In spite of this, she opened her eyes and smiled at him. She reached her gnarled hand up and touched his cheek. "Anton, my good boy," she whispered. "Someday you will understand this love." Her words were interrupted by a horrible racking cough. "It is all I have to give you, my love." She closed her eyes and was gone. Tears flowed down Anton's cheeks. He could not stop them. He did not want to stop them, and he did not understand what had just happened. Buba had saved him. The Gestapo officer was dead, but how? He looked up to see Uncle Dmitri standing over him, his eyes also filled with tears. All of the families that had come to know Buba cried along with them. Then an unfamiliar noise caught Anton's attention. At the edge of the tree line stood a group of armed men. Pavel was among them and held a still-smoking rifle. He had reunited with his militia. Anton recognized another face, Daniel. He held a shotgun, but did not look quite at home among militia members. How good it was to see his old friend's face. Uncle Pavel came toward them, and Anton could see that his eyes were ringed with redness. "The Germans are on the run," Pavel told him. "The Russian army is less than 5 kilometers to the west. We are safe for now. I only wish we could have gotten here sooner," he said, before bowing his head in prayer. Anton looked at his Buba, whom he still held in his arms. Then he stared long and hard at the body of a man so full of evil he had made an old woman his nemesis. Now the Nazi was nothing more than an empty shell. His lifeless eyes stared up at the sky like a doll's. "Safety is an illusion," Anton said. "We will never be safe. Not while men like this walk the earth." Anton gently laid his Buba on the ground, and then he prayed through his tears. And that's the end of that chapter, and we'll be back tomorrow with the epilogue.